What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up and Chat. My name is BJ Matthews, aka B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on our YouTube page, Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. You know what I'm saying? Follow me on my Instagram, B Jizzle, BJIZZLLE. Follow my co-host, Rick Masters, at RickMaster23. Continue to like, share, subscribe all of our videos on our YouTube page. You know what I'm saying? Hit the notification bell on the top of the screen. But let's get it popping. Oh man, yesterday was crazy in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? The Lakers and Detroit Pistons faced off yesterday afternoon in the Eastern Western Conference showdown. Um, the Lakers ended up winning 121 to 116 after snapping that 3-game losing streak. They would have fallen to 8-10 if they lost last night to the Pistons. So good win for the Lakers to come back and rally their way back in the game. But that wasn't the big story. The big story, of course, was LeBron James, superstar forward of the LA Lakers, getting into it with Isaiah Stewart, the young 20-year-old small forward for the Detroit Pistons, or power forward, whatever you want to call it. Now, I didn't watch the game entirely because I was live in the arena at the Clipper game, the team across the way from the Lakers. I was at that game, you know what I'm saying? The Clippers pulled it out, you know what I'm saying? Clip City, Chip City, but that's another story. But I started seeing, messages. I started seeing, reports on NBA.com because I follow it all the time. And it said LeBron James got ejected in the third quarter. So I watched the video of what happened. So take y'all through the scenario. LeBron and Isaiah Stewart, the young forward from the Pistons, were at the free throw stripe. They got locked up. Jeremy Grant of the forward of the Detroit Pistons shot the free throw, missed the shot. They get locked up arm to arm. They're both 250 plus, 6'9", so they're both pretty strong. Isaiah Stewart locked his arm with LeBron, and as they're going for the ball, get the rebound, LeBron pretty much closed his fist, welded back, and hit Isaiah Stewart in the face. Now, Isaiah Stewart went to the ground, and as he was going to the ground, LeBron turned around, looked, and he said, "Oh man, are you all right?" You know what I'm saying? Trying to look, see if the kid was good. And Isaiah got up, very, upset, got up very upset, started eyeing with LeBron. They had some choice words. Teammates, personnel, coaches started to hold each other back. LeBron Stewart said something to LeBron that he didn't like. And then as the coaches were pushing Stewart away, he was trying to, escape by, throwing people off him and, saying, "Let me go." And then blood was gushing out of his eye and, his mouth. So he was upset, I think, of the blood that was gushing out because he wasn't initially that upset until he started seeing blood coming from his face. So then, the teammates of the Lakers, had to, build a wall around LeBron so that Stewart couldn't get to him because he was charging coaches, personnel, other players to get to LeBron. So all crazy. They both get ejected. So there's been a lot of questions if LeBron and Isaiah Stewart should both be suspended for a certain amount of games. Did LeBron James pull off a dirty play? Was it intentional or unintentional? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. So let me get that going. Okay, first thing is first. LeBron needs to be suspended. Absolutely. Not judging his character. LeBron James has been for 19 seasons a model citizen in the NBA. Hasn't been in any trouble legally. Good family man to his husband or to his wife, kids, and good teammate. Never been in trouble with the law. I'm not here to defame his character. We're here for the situation alone. LeBron James needs to be suspended because if that had been anybody else, then they would have got the treatment of being suspended. If that was David Stern, who was the commissioner, God rest his soul, instead of Adam Silver, there'd be no question LeBron would be getting suspended. Even the face of the league is not over the league. It's not over the NBA. So LeBron needs to be suspended. I think Isaiah Stewart needs to be suspended as well because of what he did after the fact. You could have really hurt one of those personnel or coaches being 250, bulldozing them. You could have hurt somebody. So you failed to use discretion and allowed the officials to handle it, and you got kicked out of the game as well. So I would say about 2-3 games is fair for Stewart and about the same amount for LeBron, maybe a little more. But I don't think the NBA is going to do that because, it is LeBron. So if they're going to give him suspension, it's going to be minor. Now, what I've been seeing with this Laker team, like I've been saying, they have not been looking up to par. They have been failing without LeBron James there. Even when he is there, this Laker team is just not well put together because they have too many missing pieces. They have too many pieces that just do not fit. So you're struggling with a Detroit Pistons team. You're down by 15 points in the second half. In the third quarter, looking about to lose another game. You're going to have some frustration. I feel like LeBron James has been frustrated, feeling like he has to save this team, coming back the way that he did. I think that he felt frustrated yesterday losing to that Detroit team because Detroit's horrible. They're 4-12 right now. So you're losing to another team that is under 500 that has no business being in the same group, the same stratosphere as you, but yet they are in that game. So I think LeBron got frustrated at that moment because that Stewart kid was, very physical. He's very aggressive. So at that point in time, I think LeBron James got frustrated and did pull his fist back and did try to get him off him. Now, was it dirty? It was. I think it was a position that LeBron James wanted to hit him, but he didn't want to hurt him. Because we gotta also remember LeBron James is human. I think the biggest mistake we make as basketball fans and stuff like that is thinking that this guy isn't human. He gets upset, he gets frustrated, and when you put this guy in such a high stratosphere and a high totem pole, and when he falls down, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what he did. I'm like, yeah, he's a human being. He's not above correction. He's not above when he does something wrong. And I think when he elbowed the kid, he felt like he was wrong. That's why he didn't retaliate when Stewart was trying to charge at him. He had his teammates, try to hold that Stewart kid back. Westbrook, DeAndre Jordan was in the mix. Anthony Davis was right there, and LeBron didn't react because he knew he was wrong. But I feel like in that moment in time, he did act out of frustration, and he was a dirty play. But he's not a dirty player. Don't get it twisted. It was a dirty play. And for the people that say that LeBron James doesn't have a history of this, yes, he doesn't have a history of being dirty and throwing shots, but he does have a history when things are not going his way to show poor leadership. You got to think about when he was getting beat by the Golden State Warriors in 2018. J.R. Smith throws the ball away or shoots. He doesn't shoot the ball. And in that overtime, LeBron James, before the overtime started, he's on the bench with his hands like this, going into the chair, just thinking like the game is over. And then you're like, you got time, man. You got 5 minutes. Yes, your teammate made a boneheaded decision, but you got to be able to corral him and, bring him and say, hey, we got this. It's all going to be okay. But he didn't do that. He thought about himself at that moment. There was times that, when Joel Embiid just last season, LeBron pushed him when Joel Embiid was going for a dunk, and Joel Embiid called him out for it, said, hey, that was a dirty play. So LeBron's not above being dirty. He's not a dirty player, but he's not above being dirty. So that's number one. I'm not calling LeBron James a dirty player. Again, like I can continue to emphasize that. Now for the teammates of the Lakers, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, they were saying that we weren't going to have it. We'll fight for our brother. That's all well and good. But what I do know about this Stewart kid, he wanted all that smoke. And when you're in the heat of a battle, you could tell if a person really wants to fight or not. And at that point in time, from what I hear, Stewart used to box in high school, and he looks like a pretty stocky kid. So it's like he would have fought everybody in your team to get to LeBron. That's how upset this dude was. But I also think he used this as an opportunity to get some clout because this isn't the first superstar he's got into it with. I believe he got into it with Giannis Antetokounmpo after the game. He stepped to Giannis Antetokounmpo for whatever reason and said something to him. Of course, it didn't get physical, but it's like, Giannis, really, man? Like, why would you go after Giannis? Like, he's one of the most, coolest dudes in the league. I mean, so he had an altercation or like a verbal altercation with him when Giannis was looking at him like, bro, are you serious right now? So I think that this Stewart kid was looking for some clout. I think that he was legitimately upset. You hit me in the face. I mean, you can't tell me how to really react, but I do think he used it as an opportunity to get some type of some type of backdrop from LeBron. Because again, I mean, LeBron, you put in your situation with LeBron in anything, then you're gonna be talked about. Just like when Enes Kanter said something about LeBron James in China. His shoes, like, I'm saying, them, he's supporting China, but you talking about social injustice. Enes Kanter may be right about what he's saying about LeBron James, but why did it take you a full year to say something like that? Enes Kanter is, another person in the league that's just there. So, I mean, is there some motivation by what you're saying? Are you really being genuine about what your approach is, that you really care about social injustice? I don't want to hear that from Enes Kanter because, you didn't say nothing until now. But going back to my point, I think Stewart really was just looking for some type of, he was upset, but I think on the back of his head, he's waking up to like, yeah, people know who I am now. Because this isn't the first superstar you've been after. So that's just my analysis, you know what I'm saying? I think, again, Stewart needs to be suspended. LeBron needs to be suspended. We're going to see what happens. But until then, pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.